Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan, follows two twin brothers returning to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them home. So just for my thoughts off the trailers, I thought this looked pretty good. Ryan Coogler is a director I've actually seen quite a lot from, being Creed and both Black Panthers. I would give these three films a 6, 7, and an 8, so yeah, I think he's pretty good. Michael B. Jordan is a good actor, really liked him in Creed 3. I think he can totally give a great lead performance. However, overall off the trailers, the premise for this film doesn't interest me a ton. Still, I watch listed it a couple months ago, mostly out of respect for Ryan Coogler. My anticipation for this movie was pretty tame until the pretty explosive response. The ratings for this film are pretty intense, so my excitement has gone up a lot. I couldn't tell if this film would be goofy or deep, but based on the reception, I can assume it'll be a pretty complex story. I'm excited for this one, so I'll be back with my initial thoughts. Yeah, Sinners is a great film. It's probably the best film of the year so far. Not by like a ton, like a lot of people are saying, but it's the best film of the year so far. It's great. I really liked it. I have issues. There's a lot of good stuff, but I still have issues with it. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts mostly. I don't have a ton right now, so yeah. I'll be back with full review. To start off with the more technical aspects of this film, this movie looks great. I didn't really catch it in the trailers, but this movie is lit and shot extremely well. Simple stuff like the constant day shots look really good. I think it's really cool how often we subtly focus on the day throughout the movie before the vampires show up. I only really realized this detail when the sun began setting in the movie. It's such a cool attention to detail. Additionally, this movie is often lit to be super dark with its harsh lighting, whether to make Shaq and Smoke more intimidating or to obviously highlight the vampires. I thought the lighting for this movie was really great. I don't think there's any bad lighting here, even though it's so extreme. Additionally, there's just some really well put together scenes, like whenever we're in the car we get these blurred shots because we're seeing it through a blurred window, and it looks strange when you first see it, but once zooming out we actually see the blurred window in front of the car, which is kind of crazy. This normal dialogue scene becomes 10 times better once you notice how it's shot and put together. I really wish they used this blurred angle more because it barely shows up in the film, but when it does happen it's so cool. Lastly, there's one amazing handheld take here where we follow two characters. It starts from the back of the character's head, and once we switch characters it goes from the front of the character. It's awesome sequences like this that really add to the movie. Some potentially boring scenes are carried by how cool this movie can look at points. For the most part, this movie just looks really good, but in specific examples like I listed, this movie looks amazing and it really grips you. To keep going with the technical aspects for this film, the editing here is amazing. This film uses a lot of fade-in transitions, and while it does take a little bit to get used to, it really fits in with this movie. Like, some of these transitions are actually insane. They flow into each other so well, especially towards the end. The dialogue scenes here are also so well done. They're cut in a way that makes the simple scene super gripping and intense. Before we have the vampire, Sinners for at least an hour follows Smoke and Shaq preparing for their restaurant to open, so we follow the two of them separately getting ready. What's crazy is that the amount of time we spend with both of them is legit perfect. Like, I was about to get bored of Shaq's plot after it went on for too long, and right then it cut right back to Smoke's plot. This movie actually cut at a perfect point. It was a crazy feeling. I haven't seen editing this good in a while. Once the vampires start getting thrown in, the editing continues to be stellar. The quick cuts we get of the vampires killing people are so strong and ominous. Yeah, amazing editing in this movie. It's been a while since I've noticed editing this good. It's hard to decide what I like more, but the music, and more specifically the music numbers in this film, is probably my favorite aspect of the entire film. At the start, the general blues/jazz music we got was so good. It goes so hard while fitting what's happening throughout the movie perfectly. It's a fantastic score. I can't stress that enough. Some of these sequences with no dialogue are probably some of my favorite moments in the whole movie, just because of how hard the score goes. Anyways, after we get to the bar, we have the actual music numbers, which also go crazy hard. People are constantly performing at this bar before the vampires show up, so as we see these plots, the music playing in the background is always being performed by someone, and we spend a lot of time during this movie at the bar before the vampires are here. So for a lot of this film, what's going on with the music is happening in real time. That really hits once the vampires actually show up and the performers leave the bar. Past that point, it's mostly silent, but when the music does show up, it's still blues, but somehow way more intense. I have no idea how they did that, but the jazz past this point remains jazz while feeling horrifying. Anyways, to go back, before the vampires actually show up, we get some music numbers and they are insane. My favorite scene in the entire film, and I'm guessing for everyone else, is Sammy's music number. I thought it was pretty good, but once the shot starts expanding and we start seeing changes in the music, holy. I won't say anymore, it has to be seen to be believed. Lastly, since this movie uses so much jazz, when the music genre completely changes, it really takes you off guard and hits hard for the horror aspects of this movie. Won't spoil what genre though, because when it happens, it's such an unexpected switch in tone. I don't have a lot to say on the the actual characters for this film. They aren't all super interesting, but as a whole, they're very good. I didn't even realize the whole time that Michael B. Jordan actually plays both Shaq and Smoke. That's a crazy feat for him because he plays both of them so differently that they actually both feel like completely different characters. Shaq is my favorite character in the whole film. It might just be because of the red hat, but I don't know, he's just really cool. We spend at least an hour and a half of this movie following these characters meeting and gathering for the bar before the vampires even show up. And while that feels strange, especially if you're here for the horror, I think it's a great choice. Once the deaths start actually happening, it hits because these characters have been built up so much. Plus, what I really like about this movie is how competent our cast is. We have a religious character who believes in vampires, so the moment they show up, our cast is able to strategize on what to do instantly. It feels really refreshing having such competent characters while also explaining how they're able to believe in vampires so fast. Lastly, I gotta talk about the vampires. I mean, they're cool and play country music, which is unintentionally really funny. It's great that the vampires just love country music for no reason. I really like these guys. They definitely become less scary as the movie goes on, but at the start, they are really good threatening forces. It's a really cool choice how they handle the vampires. Once being infected, the characters remain the same. I mean, they're still obviously evil, but they basically have the same character traits as before. The movie is making the point that the vampires have the main mindset as our main characters. They want to create a family, but a family that will be safe from the outside world. The vampires actually get proper motivations and beliefs for what they're doing. Like, no spoilers obviously, but the way they explain their justification for killing is really cool. They did not need to develop the vampires this much, but I really appreciate them for doing so. It's really interesting and leads the vampire section of this film to still be insightful instead of dumb fun. Plus, the way they play into the ending is insane. If it wasn't for the previously mentioned music number, this would easily be the best scene in the movie. The designs for these vampires are crazy. However, I do have some issues with the vampires that I'll get into now. I do really like the vampires, but as said before, they really start losing their scare factor. It really started with the music number, which was pretty funny but felt like tonal whiplash. Like, these guys shouldn't get their own silly music number, it really just doesn't fit in with the movie. Additionally, as said before, this movie treats the vampires like humans, which is a great choice. However, it's really hard to believe their intentions because based on the trailers and the movie itself, these guys are clearly evil and not the same people. Like, one of the vampires who gets taken over literally says, "We are going to kill every last one of you." Like, you can't say that and then later explain that you just want everyone to be in a family. Maybe the point is that these vampires aren't who they say they are and they're actually evil, but I really don't like that angle. I really love the idea of these vampires still being the humans they were before being infected, but this movie practically confirms they're being possessed by a devil, so I don't know if they're lying or not, but based off a ton of scenes, especially the end credit scene, this movie definitely confirms they aren't possessed, or at least not fully. So it's just really weird how they handle the vampires. There are also a couple scenes in this movie that really fell flat for me. There's an argument scene in this movie that was really boring and never really comes back, which I really didn't like. It went on for way too long and was pretty boring. The one action scene we do get in this movie with the vampires is kind of put together really strange to the point where it's extremely hard to tell what's even going on. Plus, during this scene, character deaths get no real meaning, like they just start killing off whoever they want. I really didn't like that, especially since before character deaths had way more weight. Lastly, the post-credit scene is totally unnecessary, but like, I get the purpose, so this one isn't as bad. Okay, my last issue with this movie is how they handled Shaq and Smoke. It's really hard to talk about these guys without spoiling the movie, but I don't really like Smoke. I don't think he's anywhere near as cool as Shaq. He's way more unlikable and kind of scary, which is fine, but Shaq is just way more cool and a way better character. Anyways, I wish their roles in this film got reversed. I wish Shaq got more to do because the way they treated him in this movie is just way too little in my opinion. Seriously, I wish Shaq got more focus. He's easily the best character in this movie, and his role in the first hour for this film was so much fun. Anyways, I still think Smoke is a pretty good character, but still, I think if the roles were reversed, this movie would have been so much better. Anyways, I thought Sinners was a great movie and the best film of 2025 so far, if not by much. My favorite aspects were the score/music numbers, editing, and the vampire concept. Least favorite aspects would be the handling of the vampires and Shaq and Smoke's role in this movie. And so I'm gonna give Sinners a high 8 out of 10. Make sure to like if you like the video, subscribe if you really like the video, comment what you thought about the movie. I make these reviews every week and a big video at the end of each month, so stick around for that. Thanks for watching, and this is an epic outro.